And we have another rep here against Colorado in 2023, just putting a guy to bed and then fighting through contact for a first down. At the end of the play, there's a coach just waving a towel like crazy. I feel him. This is fantastic. So obviously, great stiff arm timing. Just puts this guy to bed. It's night. And then still gathers himself, attacks for that first down, and I feel that, coach. Throw that towel, man. Hello, good people. Packers fans, football fans, and random internet viewers who are at least a little bit curious about how football is played at the pro and college level. My name is Tim Noonan. I've been a fan of the Packers for about the last 20 years and a fan of scouting college players for the last 8 years. And today I'll be doing a video breakdown of the Packers' third round 2024 pick, MarShawn Lloyd, the running back out of USC. If you like the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell so that you know the next time I'm on here talking about football at the pro or college level. And without further ado, let's get into what to expect from this breakdown of MarShawn Lloyd. The first thing I'm looking at is his vision, his ability to read and manipulate defenders while trying to find the best gap in the run game to attack. I think his role with the Packers will be in the zone run facet of the offense. Matt LaFleur has liked to mix up zone run and specific gap scheme plays, and I think MarShawn Lloyd really shines in those zone runs where he's reading and picking through where to attack defenses. His second strength that we're going to look at is his power and balance. He just runs through defenders a lot of the time. He has a good stiff arm in his tool belt, so we'll look at some plays there just to show his balance and his strength. Thirdly, we're going to be looking at his patience to wait for the perfect window to open up, and this shows up in almost all of his plays. We'll see some of that in his vision plays. We'll see some of it in his power plays, and then I will highlight his patience and then his ability to cut. He's a great athlete. He's very fast. He's very agile, and he has a strong cut to get upfield quickly and a lot of burst that we'll see on a number of plays. Finally, I'll just look at a couple areas that I want to see him tidy up. First, his situational awareness, and secondly, as a pass catcher. Situationally, I think sometimes he just tries to, he takes risks that are unnecessary, and he's got some head-scratching reps that make me wonder what he's seeing or what he's reacting to. So we'll look at those. And as a pass catcher, he was a very solid receiver in college. He caught something like 34 passes for an average of about 13 yards a catch. He had a really explosive game against Cal in 2023. So he's got some ability as a pass catcher, but I just want to see him get his head around a little bit more quickly to be a threat on check down plays, which is where I see his role in the Packers pass game this fall. So let's get into his vision. Let's see how he reads defenses. The first play we are looking at is Arizona in 2023. We're going to see him hold a linebacker just for a split second on this one and roll right along into the end zone. That angle doesn't show it great, but here, this second angle, boom, holds number 5. And it's hard to see in real time what I mean by holding number 5. So this is a zone run play. This is where you see his ability to read and his vision. So number 5 right now is still in this gap on the outside of that offensive lineman, number 70. And from this position, number 5 can still bring down Lloyd. So Lloyd hangs closer to the hash towards the middle to bring number 5 inside so that number 70 can get hands on him. And as soon as 70 gets hands on him, it's a green light for Lloyd, and he's off to the races. Really good vision, and uses his eyes to manipulate the defender there. Now, flashing back to his time in South Carolina in 2022, as Lloyd was a transfer to USC in 23, we're going to see him here just get into a nice little bump outside and get upfield quickly with burst. So in real time, you definitely just see, nice read, go where the space is, attack the space. And you can see his speed on display there. You can see the physicality. He's tough to bring down there at the end. But in a slower time, again, you see he hangs behind these offensive linemen. He draws those defenders in and really hits the green light once the tight end here at the bottom of the line. Once that tight end seals off this blocker, He sees the green light, and he just gets upfield and makes the most of his vision with his speed. This rep is very simple, but also I think just a great decision. So obviously gets 3 yards there on a 2nd and 5. Nice play. But even pre-snap, Texas A&M is in a set where there are 4 down linemen. And then there's 1 linebacker, meaning that South Carolina's offensive line has every defender accounted for in the block here. So pre-snap, even though there's this safety kind of hanging over the sort of rolling down, sort of staying back, and there's this hybrid safety linebacker who is in the middle of the field, keeping his eyes in the backfield. Really, this is a 5-on-5. This is South Carolina's linemen against Texas A&M's linemen and linebackers. And just a good call, dive down, find the space. Don't try to wiggle around. Don't try to bump outside. Just get the yards. And this is a good situational play also, you see. South Carolina is only up 3 against a very good Texas A&M team in the 3rd quarter. So this sets up a nice 3rd and 2, puts the offense in a good position, and keeps the drive rolling along. Now, in a very similar situation in 2023 when he was playing for USC, again here we see 5 offensive linemen, 5 defenders. There's the 5 defensive linemen and then the 1 linebacker right behind them. So all the blockers are accounted for, and then this safety who is on the hash mark is going to be the free man who is supposed to account for Lloyd. And Lloyd in real time puts him on the ground, nice power on display there, gets hung up for a tackle for loss. And in real time, it's hard to say what could Lloyd do better? The blockers didn't get the depth that they needed on the left side of the field. Number 79 gave up an angle there, so a defensive lineman came free. What I would like to see Lloyd do here is, instead of trying to stiff arm this safety rolling down, I want to see Lloyd just jump upfield, get into the safety's body, and work up like 2, 3, 5 yards. We've seen him fight through some contact already. We'll see him fight through some more contact in later reps, and that's really what I want to see on this rep. I think he wants to make a big play because there's all this space in between the right guard and where he is on the field. Like there's probably 3 or 4 feet of space in front, 3 or 4 yards of space between those guys. And so if he can just stiff arm this guy and stay on his feet, there's a lot of green grass. But in the time that it takes to knock this guy down, Lloyd, or defensive linemen, are freed up and Lloyd ends up on the ground, as opposed to put your feet in the ground, get upfield, get 3 to 5 yards. Now, on the flip side, we have one more good read here. He sees that there's space to the outside, quickly gets there, and draws this edge defender inside for long enough that his offensive lineman can get hands on him. And he doesn't even really have to make a huge cut here. You see in slow-mo, like in real time, it looks like a nice juke, and it's a good move. But really, the patience here and the vision is what makes this happen, because once the offensive lineman puts his hands on the defender, MarShawn has to do very little movement-wise, and so he can just take one little step. His feet don't even leave the ground there, you see, and then gets upfield, gets a first down. Nice read, and well done to follow his blockers and attack the open space. Now, MarShawn Lloyd's power, I think, is what's going to keep him on the field for 3 downs at a time for the Packers. He has great balance. He's got a low center of gravity, standing at 5'8" 3/4 inches, 220, 225 pounds, somewhere in there. And as we've seen already, he can enforce his will on defenders. So looking at this rep from Oregon, against Oregon in 2023, you just see him, nice little read, follows his blockers here, gets his guy down on the ground, drags this other guy down to the first down marker. And we're going to get a secondary angle here, because the secondary angles are always fun. You see him here, again, nice vision, follows his blocker. Number 7, poor guy. Great effort, just down on the ground. Then carries this number 26 right to the first down marker. And just good rep all around. Nice balance, nice power, nice balance, nice power, chugs, first down. Against A&M in 2022, back in the SEC, Nice job just shedding an arm tackle. Gets to run the rest of the way for an end zone, and that's cool. But the biggest thing is he's really unbothered by this arm tackle. This doesn't throw him off. This doesn't change his angle. This is the kind of thing that it's simple, but it's fundamentally sound. You see the strength on display here. That defender's hand doesn't mean anything to him. Great play. Nice job, just like a hot knife through butter. Now, in 2022 against Kentucky, he had this awesome potential tackle for loss that he converted into a 45-yard gain. And again, just a lot of these power plays, you can see the strength in real time. Just sheds that defender, keeps his balance, gets upfield, and you see that burst and that speed on display. That his athleticism was definitely a highlight for his game through the draft process, and being able to pair that athleticism with his power is something that makes him special. It's something that can really make him special on Sundays. And we have another rep here against Colorado in 2023, just putting a guy to bed and then fighting through contact for a first down. At the bottom, at the end of the play, there's a coach just waving a towel like crazy. I feel him. This is fantastic. So obviously, great stiff arm timing. Just puts this guy to bed. It's night-night. And then still gathers himself, attacks for that first down, and I feel that, coach. Throw that towel, man. And then closing out the power, again, we just have another arm tackle that he just runs right through. Another arm tackle he runs right through as he gets out of bounds. It is a tall task to bring MarShawn Lloyd to the ground, and Oregon found that out firsthand in 2023. Again, don't really need a lot of slowing down here. We can watch this in half speed. But he just does great to keep his balance, keep his eyes upfield, keep attacking through contact. The third area of his game that we're going to look at, and the area where I think he can really separate himself from other NFL backs, is his patience in the run game and his physical ability to make cuts in combination with that patience. So we talked about his vision and his ability to manipulate defenders. We're going to see that on display on this first play. He lets the blocks develop. He waits and slowly lets the offensive line get their bearings, and then once the edge is sealed off and once he has sort of manipulated one defender, he attacks space and gets a nice gain. So what we're going to see here in real time is he goes inside, holds defenders, bumps outside, gets upfield, nice gain. Again, you see shed one arm tackle already, and then sheds one arm tackle and then just carries this guy for another few yards. So good power there. But when you slow this one down, what you see is they're running in an inside zone. So before we get into that, inside zone is a concept that every team runs. A lot of teams run a mix of zone runs and gap scheme plays, and the Packers were no exception. Matt LaFleur loved to run different variations of runs, and so zone runs basically are just runs where a running back has to go through various reads on the offensive line to decide what is the best gap at which to attack space. Brett Coleman, a YouTuber who does incredible football content, does a great job breaking down outside zone, and the concepts between outside zone and inside zone are similar, where you're just reading gaps, you're finding the best place to go. So part of the skill and the art, honestly, in this is being able to use yourself as a runner as almost a decoy. So MarShawn Lloyd, what we see here, runs towards the B gap. So he's running to the gap between the guard and the tackle right here. And then puts his foot in the dirt, goes outside. Now, what he does when he's running into this B gap is this big defensive lineman here, who is engaged with the offensive tackle. The defensive lineman has a leverage where he's better off attacking the inside shoulder of the offensive lineman. So Lloyd stays in that gap, and that allows number 79 to fully seal that outside arm. And then once that's sealed off, then Lloyd can just follow his tight end's butt and just cuts right behind him and gets upfield. So great patience to let these blocks develop, great vision to manipulate the defender, and nice little cut to get upfield, nice cut to bump outside and then get upfield quickly. This play against Kentucky in 2022, going back to the SEC, this is very simple. This is just a nice little press and cut. So he presses to the outside, foot in the dirt, cuts upfield, fights through contact, gets a first down. So in half speed, what we see here is this looks like a little bit of a zone run just to the right, not necessarily an outside zone, because he's running parallel with the offensive line. So he's pressing to the outside, and that's an important part of zone runs, is pressing to an area so that then you can cut amongst a different selection of gaps. So presses here while this defender is in the backfield, and then you'll see behind him there's another defender. So he's sandwiched between two guys as he's pressing, and he's being patient here. I mean, it happens very quickly, but it takes somebody who is not trigger happy to let even those blocks that aren't fully successful, let them develop to a place where, okay, now I go upfield. And there's a ton of reps like this that are not glamorous, they're not flashy, but they show that he definitely has the ability to read his blocks, give his blockers as much time as possible to then cut upfield, and he has the athleticism. Once he decides to cut upfield, he can get a lot of yards in a short amount of time. Very similar play here against Texas A&M again in 2022. So this is a goal-to-go situation. You see 8 defenders for 7 blockers here. This receiver who's motioning for South Carolina is not a blocker. He's just there to throw things off, make things a little bit haywire for the defense. But basically, when in any given run play, when there are 7 blockers, there's 8 gaps that the defense has to account for. Whatever number of blockers there are, just add 1. That's how many gaps. And if you have one more defender than you have blockers, then you have all your gaps taken care of. Then the defense just has to do their job one by one. And Lloyd makes it hard on defenders to do their job, because what he does here is he presses to the middle, cuts and bursts over to the right there. From that angle, looks very, very simple, very easy. And we'll see a little bit here where the patience comes in on this second angle. So when the replay comes here, you see, this is not me circling, that's the TV guy circling, but you see him ride this hash mark up the middle, and him riding the hash mark pulls all these defenders in. He creates a vortex where even that, you see the defensive lineman there really guns for him. And by pulling these defenders in, he's giving his blockers a chance to get better leverage on them for where he's going to go. And he just lets all this space, right, off to the right of him, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 defenders off to his right before the snap. And then in 2 seconds, there is no one, because he has pressed to the middle and has that ability to cut and burst outside. So in this play, you see that patience, you see that cut, and very, very simple run, but this is the kind of thing that you want to see executed, especially in a goal-to-go situation. When the defense has a really good inkling that the run is coming and they're ready for it, he still wins. And so just great to see. We have another goal-to-go win here for MarShawn Lloyd. Very similar situation. This time he has 6 blockers against 7 defenders in the area. So again, defense has all the gaps accounted for. And what we see is the tight end initially loses this rep. So Lloyd already can't press quite as far to the outside as he might like to, because this tight end has just gotten backed up. Luckily, he's got offensive linemen who put a good block out there on the right side, and he just attacks that space. So presses, again, you see him go pressing to the outside, almost looks like he's going to go outside that tight end, cuts upfield. Very basic, very fundamental, good read, good execution, attack space. You see the burst and athleticism on display there as well. Closing out the evaluation of MarShawn Lloyd here, we're going to look at just a couple areas of growth. First being situational awareness, second being some pass reps, and what I would like to see with him in the pass game and where I think he fits in the Packers' pass offense. So just starting with situational awareness, this first rep is against Colorado on a 3rd and 14, where I would just like to see him get more yards out of this. And this is sort of against his nature. I'm not sure what he's reading here, but he goes inside when really there's a lot of space out to the outside, and we've seen him have the ability to jump, cut, and burst towards space. So I'm not sure why he doesn't here, but looking at this in real time, right in behind the garden center, you see all the space off to the left. And for some reason, he just keeps driving in towards that garden center. The only thing I can think of is just the fact that it's the second quarter of this game. They are up 21-7. There's a lot of football left to play, but also a riskier play here could compromise their position up 2 touchdowns. But that said, it just doesn't seem very risky for him to go and read and take this space. There's a safety that has just bailed over the top. All the defenders in the area are accounted for. He's got his foot in the dirt. And instead of cutting to the space near like where the eye of the buffalo is, just cuts upfield into his blockers. So not sure what he's reading here, not sure what happens. I would just like to see him attack more of that space on this play. Different situation here. He goes and tries to just put a move on this defender. This is from his time at South Carolina in 2022. Admittedly, this defender comes free and tackles him behind the line of scrimmage, and I think these kinds of lapses in blocking are one of the reasons he moved on from South Carolina, just because there's a lot of plays where the offensive line falls apart. This one seems to be a little bit more of a design situation where this number 15 is a free blocker or is a free defender. Lloyd looks like, with all of these offensive linemen moving off to the left here, it looks like a play that's designed to go to the outside, to go to the left. And I don't know why Lloyd doesn't just keep flowing left, because, again, we've seen that speed on display. We know he can go and get to that edge. I don't know what he's reading here that makes him want to try to beat this number 15, because even if he beats number 15, there's that number 5 right there behind him. So this play, I would just like to see Lloyd put the pedal to the metal, try to get to the edge, especially when, on this rep, gets a nice block from the tight end at the top there. There's space. There's room to get some yards here. So just a bad rep on the 2nd and 8 puts them in a tough 3rd down position when they could have had some yards or at least gone to a 3rd and 8. So want to see better situational awareness and decision-making on plays like this. Just to close out the situational awareness, this was a situation where I would really like to see him get upfield, and sometimes he did have this tendency to want to bubble outside and really test his athleticism and see what could happen. Down 22 points in the 4th quarter, USC needs a big play. They need an explosive play. But also, I think I would prefer in this situation him to just get upfield. And the way you see these blocks develop, every blocker is accounted for except for this safety over the middle of the field who's on the 1st down line. Now, MarShawn Lloyd is rocking about 220 pounds on his frame. This safety, number 7, he was listed around 200 pounds for Oregon last year. So this is a dude who MarShawn has leverage, size, power. He can meet this defender in the gap and bowl him over to get that 1st down. Instead, he tries to cut outside where he can pretty clearly see his offensive lineman has lost to this edge defender. His offensive lineman has sealed the inside, but he is very vulnerable to the outside. And if you watch the guard and center on this play, they take care of this interior lineman, move him down the field. And so with that edge defender walled off, with this interior defender having been moved off the line of scrimmage, and with this safety in a position where Lloyd is one-on-one, I just want to see Lloyd get upfield, create contact, and get a 1st down. And so this puts USC into a very tough fourth down situation. They're already in a hole. This doesn't make it any better. Now, as a receiver out of the backfield, my biggest criticism of Lloyd, which is a very nitpicky one, is I just want to see his head get around quicker to the quarterback. I think his role in the pass game with the Packers is going to be as a check down option. The Packers don't do much, or they, at least in the past, they have not done much in the way of creating designed pass plays for running backs. The threat for the Packers has been to have Lloyd, or the threat for the Packers has been to have Aaron Jones, guys like him, whip their head around so that Love or Rodgers or whoever can just drop that ball off to them. So on this play, this is a really exaggerated expectation, or a really exaggerated example of this, where Lloyd just doesn't get around quick enough on a designed screenplay. Ball bounces off his head, not ideal. But what happens here is the defense sends a delayed blitzer, so the ball has to come out of Williams' hands a lot quicker than everybody expects. And I would just like to see Lloyd get his head around quicker because his eyes are up. And so he sees this delayed blitzer. He has to know that this guy is going to bother this play. And also, once the ball is out of Williams' hand, that delayed blitzer is one less defender for him to worry about. So just want to see him get his head around here more quickly and be in a position to make a catch because he has pretty sure hands. He doesn't drop the ball a ton. This is just a really bad rep. He has other reps where he just doesn't quite get his head around as quickly as I would like. So just want to see him get there because as we see on this play, I know he can do it. Gets to his spot quickly on this check down, becomes a ball carrier, becomes a runner very quickly, gets some nice yards after the catch, and gets down quickly while USC has 2 timeouts. There's 10 seconds left in the game, or in the half on this one. This is at the end of the first half against Colorado in 2023. Just quickly gets his head around, boom. He's a runner quickly, makes a man miss, gets a first down, sets up potential Hail Mary with about 7 seconds left in the half. Those are the kinds of plays in the Packers offense that I would love to see him have, where he is that release valve for Jordan Love going forward. So all of this taken together, I think MarShawn Lloyd is a portrait of a guy that you get when you lose a contributor like Aaron Jones. And there was a glorious probably 90 minutes this offseason when Packers fans thought that we had Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones coming back next year. And for the fans who watched all season and saw the offense struggle in the first half of the season, we know when the offense worked, it worked through Aaron Jones primarily, and then everybody else got to eat around that. And what Jones did that was so special that I think Lloyd can bring to the table is Jones was patient, and Jones had great vision to manipulate defenders and carve out the most yards possible for what was in front of him. He didn't always have imposing blockers executing like really, really hard blocks in front of him. Jones won with vision, movement, and quick decision making, and we see that on display for Lloyd. Now, Lloyd is young. He's still got to refine those things. And Aaron Jones didn't come in making the reads the way he did this year as, a 6th, 7th year veteran. So Lloyd, I think, brings some vision, and he also brings some power that we haven't seen in combination with some speed that we haven't seen. Obviously, A.J. Dillon, strong power back. He can bowl anybody over. But the power that Lloyd brings is a kind that is in combination with agility and straight line speed that we just haven't seen here for a minute. And it's going to be really exciting, but he needs to shore up the decision-making, the situational awareness plays, because I want him on the field for 3 downs. I want to see Matt LaFleur mixing up sets with Josh Jacobs and MarShawn Lloyd on the field so that the defense doesn't know what's going to happen. I want to see them get really creative. But the Packers can only get creative with MarShawn Lloyd if he shores up those things. But if he does, we saw the vision. We saw the speed. We saw the power. We saw the cuts. We saw the early seeds of that patience and decision-making that make great backs. So I think he can put it together, and I'm really excited to see how it happens this year. If you liked the video, again, take a second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell. And I really appreciate your time. If you have any feedback, if you have any players you want to see, drop me a comment. Let me know. I will be here same time next week, different player. And until then, have a great day. Thank you very much.